The structure of the beast. Before we step inside, we need to understand how a tornado is built. Every tornado is born from a thunderstorm, not just any thunderstorm, but a rotating supercell. These supercells form when warm, moist air near the ground meets cold, dry air aloft, creating instability. Add wind shear, the change in wind direction and speed with height, and you get rotation within the storm, a spinning column of air called a mesocyclone. Under the right conditions, that rotation tightens and extends downward, forming a funnel. When the spinning air touches the ground, it becomes a tornado. From a distance, it looks solid, but it's not. It's a column of rapidly moving air with an internal structure far more complex than it appears. At the very center of this vortex lies something remarkable, a zone of low pressure and relative calm, the eye. What is the eye of a tornado? When people talk about the eye of a hurricane, they're describing a large, well-defined area of calm surrounded by violent winds. In a tornado, the idea is similar, but much smaller and infinitely more chaotic. The eye of a tornado is the innermost region of its funnel, the axis around which everything spins. Here, the air pressure drops dramatically, sometimes by more than 100 millibars compared to the surrounding atmosphere. That's one of the largest pressure gradients in nature. It's this difference in pressure that drives the incredible wind speeds, air rushing inward and upward in a spiraling motion to equalize the imbalance. Unlike a hurricane's eye, which can be calm and even sunny, the eye of a tornado isn't necessarily peaceful. It's more like the thin center of a violent whirlpool, relatively less turbulent but surrounded by unimaginable chaos. The physics of the tornado core. To understand what happens inside, imagine a figure skater spinning on the ice. When they pull their arms inward, they spin faster, conserving angular momentum. A tornado does the same thing on a colossal scale. As air rushes toward the low-pressure center, it tightens and speeds up, forming a rotating column with winds that can exceed 300 miles per hour. At the very core, however, something unusual happens. The air at the exact axis of rotation moves upward rather than horizontally. The centrifugal force, the same force that flings objects outward, pushes most of the air away from the center, leaving behind a narrow vertical channel of low pressure and reduced wind speed. This is the eye. Inside this core, pressure can be so low that it makes buildings explode outward when the tornado passes overhead. Scientists estimate that in the strongest EF5 tornadoes, pressure drops can reach levels found 3,000 meters above sea level, within seconds. The calm within chaos. So what would you experience if you somehow stood in the middle of that core? Survivors who've experienced direct hits describe brief moments of eerie calm, seconds when the wind stops, the noise fades, and debris seems to float rather than fly. One survivor in Kansas in 1991 described it as like being in a vacuum, completely still, but the world outside was disintegrating. These moments occur because the center of the vortex, though surrounded by 200+ miles per hour winds, can be relatively stable for a brief period. Air pressure is extremely low, sound is muffled, and visibility may improve. A ghostly calm inside a storm of violence. But that calm doesn't last. The tornado's walls, known as the vortex wall, are just meters away, moving at speeds capable of tearing buildings apart. Step even slightly off-center and you're back in the maelstrom. What the eye looks like. We don't have many direct images from inside a tornado, but we have glimpses. In 2013, researchers with the TIV, Tornado Intercept Vehicle team, managed to film the inside of a tornado in Kansas. Their armored vehicle, equipped with high-speed cameras, captured rotating curtains of dust and debris circling a relatively clear central shaft. For a few seconds, visibility opened enough to see light filtering from above, like looking up through a twisting chimney. Inside, the color shifts from gray to brown to nearly black as debris density changes. Dust and moisture swirl in layers, forming intricate spirals. Lightning flashes above, illuminating the funnel from within, casting shadows across the swirling air. It's both mesmerizing and terrifying, beauty and destruction in perfect symmetry. The eye as a metaphor. There's something almost poetic about the eye of a tornado. It's a reminder that even within chaos, there can be moments of calm, fleeting, fragile, and surrounded by danger. The eye represents both destruction and balance, power and peace, all at once. It's a place where nature's most violent forces meet perfect symmetry, where physics and beauty intertwine in motion. It's a reminder that the same forces that destroy can also create. Storms give birth to rain, lightning nourishes nitrogen in the soil, and every tornado eventually gives way to calm skies again. The pressure paradox. The extreme pressure drop inside the eye isn't just a curiosity, it's deadly. When a tornado passes over a building, the outside pressure can fall so quickly that the air trapped inside the structure pushes outward, sometimes blowing the roof off or causing walls to collapse. That's why older myths told people to open windows during a tornado, thinking it would equalize pressure. In reality, it's pointless. The winds do the real damage, not the pressure difference. Still, those pressure dynamics are key to understanding the tornado's power. The low pressure draws air inward, fueling the rotation and keeping the vortex stable. Without that pressure gradient, the tornado would unravel within seconds. Inside the eye, the air is still rising rapidly, feeding into the storm's massive updraft. It's a vertical conveyor belt carrying moisture, dust, and debris thousands of feet into the atmosphere, where it becomes part of the thunderstorm's anvil. For those who study tornadoes, that silence is bittersweet. It marks the end of destruction, but also the loss of an opportunity to understand more. Because every tornado that forms, lives, and dies carries secrets about the atmosphere, secrets we're still uncovering. The truth inside the tornado. So what really happens inside the eye of a tornado? It's not empty silence. It's a zone of low pressure, rising air, and eerie calm surrounded by walls of chaos. It's where the storm's power concentrates, a thin thread of equilibrium at the heart of destruction. If you could stand there, you would feel the world bending around you, pressure dropping, air lifting, light twisting through dust and debris. For a few seconds, you'd be at the still center of nature's most violent machine. But the calm wouldn't last. The outer winds would reclaim their space, the eye would collapse, and the storm would move on, a fleeting balance swallowed again by motion. Inside the eye of a tornado lies one of nature's greatest contradictions: peace within chaos.